So my name is Ashley Graham, and my specialization in the GLOA program is global governance and public management. And so that focus is on non-governmental and governmental organizations working together, and in some cases independently, to solve social issues. And so this was really a perfect fit for my trip to South Africa, because that was basically all we talked about. And my topic for my paper was microfinance and lessons for, and in this case, lessons also from South Africa. And this picture here is our trip to the Indian Ocean. It was a about 2.5 mile hike each way, and it was really great experience. I think, as you can see here, we've got the students in the middle, but on each outside end we have a lot of locals with us. So everywhere we went, we were accompanied by locals, and that was a really great experience because we were able to ask them a lot of questions. They were able to provide commentary and insight, and like my colleagues have mentioned, that's something that you wouldn't get in a normal trip, especially if you were just a regular tourist. But that was one of the things that prompted me to do my paper. Was one of the people that we spoke with was a gentleman that was running an organization, a nonprofit organization that was trying to build community-based, businesses. He was trying to help the local community in building up the businesses, because unemployment is incredibly high in South Africa. If you think it's high here, it's like 5 times higher there. So I had previously done in a couple of my other classes papers based on microfinance, and so I thought that would be a perfect fit for this paper. I could take what I've done previously and kind of tailor it to an actual specific need that I was seeing in South Africa. That's something that I've never gotten to do before, was actually do research for a real life need I was seeing. And my paper could actually help this individual possibly in his struggles. So the purpose of my paper was to not only do research on microfinance, on specific examples of microfinance in South Africa, but then also to kind of pull out and extrapolate, possible recommendations and suggestions that could then be sent to this individual. His name is Sam Masinga, and that he could possibly use to help his organization locally in South Africa. And that was incredibly exciting for me. It was like a real world experience that, we always think of just writing a research paper and it goes to your professor, like Nagani said. But this was actually going to be sent to Sam Masinga, and I was so excited about that. It really gave me purpose in my paper. And I really encourage you guys, if you ever have a kind of opportunity where you can do that, to really, take that opportunity to take hold and do a research paper that can actually be applied to a real life challenge or issue, because you will really get fulfillment out of that. So these are a couple pictures of some wildlife that we saw. This one down in the bottom left-hand corner is what we all like to yell, Pumbaa, whenever we saw it. It's, yeah. And then the other one I think is like a dance. But just to give you a really brief background on microfinance, it is very small loans that are given to traditionally very poor people that don't have traditional collateral, like they don't have a house or a car to put up, so they can't get a regular loan from the bank. And but the downside of that is that it's a much higher interest rate. So these loans, like I said, are targeted towards poor people, and it's a lot of banks don't find that it's really beneficial for them to loan money to these people. And so what we're seeing now is local community organizations taking on this challenge. And the issue that Sam Masinga was having was that it's often not financially feasible for these local community organizations to loan very small amounts of money to people, because there's not a lot of return on investment. And so what I tried to do was come up with ideas for him based on research that I did on various ways that microfinance has been conducted already in South Africa. So I did 3 different case studies, and I tried to extrapolate the successes that had already been produced in South Africa, as well as one instance for Hand in Hand that hadn't been quite as successful. And in South Africa, microfinance and in general just very small businesses typically are fruit and vegetable stands, or selling used clothing, or small convenience shops and dressmakers and things of that nature. So there's not a lot of profit to be made there, and there's also a lot of competition, which is a challenge for the individuals that own or that are involved in those enterprises. So that's an inherent challenge that those individuals face. But the Small Enterprise Foundation is probably the most successful example, and they kind of pioneered microfinance in South Africa, and they've also partnered with the Intervention in Microfinance for AIDS and Gender Equity. And what's interesting there is that Image, the second one, has actually doubled as a microfinance and healthcare education kind of program. So they're educating people with microfinance and money management, as well as about healthcare education, so safe sex and AIDS, and those kind of topics that are really in need in South Africa. And it's become very successful. And the issue with Hand in Hand was that it was imported from Sweden and India. It was a nonprofit organization from Sweden and India. And they didn't really adapt the model to fit South Africa culture or traditions. And the South Africans kind of could tell that, and they really resented that. And so it wasn't really a successful model. And so what I did with those 3 examples was I really went into detail and explained the models that were used, and then I went in and I really tried to kind of specifically provide findings and possible recommendations for Sam Masinga and how he could then apply those to his own microfinance community development organization. And what I really found was that, especially in South Africa, community is everything. And so the groups need to really be formed organically, and representatives from the microfinance organization should be actively involved, and that the organization should work closely with community leaders and family members. And as you can see here, Marissa already included a picture of this event, but I included this one here because it's really important and representative of the culture of South Africa, and that's the message that I was trying to get across, is that while microfinance is kind of a new topic, it has to really mesh with South African culture, and I think that's something that a lot of organizations hadn't really considered. And in order for it to be successful, it really needs to. So I think the biggest challenge for me in writing this paper was really that there's just not a lot of examples of microfinance in South Africa already. It's very new to Africa in general, and specifically in South Africa. So in researching the paper, there was not really a lot of information out there. There was some, but there just wasn't a lot. But I think the reward, like I've already talked about, the biggest reward was really conducting research that could have real life implications and impact. And for me, I mean, that was just amazing. So this picture here is actually of the group and has Sam Masinga in it, and I just want to point him out. He's right here, And I mean, this really made like a lifelong impact on me. Not only the trip in general, but this experience. And I want to thank you guys for providing me with this opportunity because it was, I just,